Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome here at Crypto Hash Review, where we educate and disseminate information about Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies from a Muslim perspective. And today we're going to answer a question: is it irresponsible to buy Bitcoin? And the reason why I brought this topic up is because I've seen a few videos floating around, not videos, sorry, articles on the news and even from the government, warnings telling people be careful about cryptocurrencies, you might lose all your money, and effectively saying that it's irresponsible to invest money in cryptocurrencies. There was even an advert which was broadcast on TV, I think it was, advising pensioners to consider putting some of their money into Bitcoin. And then the government intervened, or I think the Ofcom intervened and said, no, this is irresponsible to advise people to buy Bitcoin. I want to answer that question: is it really irresponsible to buy Bitcoin? Is it really an irrational, irresponsible thing to do? Let's have a look. So Bitcoin effectively is an alternative currency. It's an alternative currency to our current system that we have. Our current system based on riba. Now, for a Muslim, riba is important, but for non-Muslim, who cares? They don't care about riba or not. So, okay. Let's look at the facts. The facts are that for a sustained period of time, over decades, consistently, the price or the purchasing power of the pound, the dollar, the euro has been decreasing. This is a sustained fact. Now, the inflation rate they have suggested, the governments, is that it's more like 2 to 3%. But in reality, it's more like 10 to 15%. Why do you say that, Mawiya? Because when they calculate the inflation rate, they actually exclude many things that people actually want to buy and need to buy. Ideally, things like houses and other sorts of things. They only include other things that don't tend to move as much. And the reason why I say that they've manipulated those stats is because if you look at the same criteria or the rules that they've used to gauge inflation back in the 70s and 80s, using those rules today would give us more of a calculation of 10 to 15%. And if some people says, okay, is that true though? Is that really how it is? Just look at the markets. Look at how much housing prices have gone up over a period of 10 years. Just look at iPhones. I mean, look at the iPhone. The iPhone has gone from 500 quid to now 1,500 or 1,200 in the space of about 10 years or less than. So we can see here that there is definitely something going wrong just in the things that we have now, and that is a sustained fact. Then we have something like Bitcoin. Bitcoin, compared to fiat currency, is a deflationary currency, as it doesn't suffer from inflation, whereby you lose purchasing power. Bitcoin is designed to be deflationary, i.e., it increases in purchasing power over time. And why is that? It's because fiat money is printed en masse. There is no upper limit, there is no upper ceiling of fiat money, or what they call our paper money. There's no limits to how much you can print. They just print what they deem fit to print. Whereas Bitcoin, there is a fixed limit, and that supply is the current is a fixed ultimate limit, but the current issuance is actually decreasing over time. So there's actually more and more scarcity as time goes on with Bitcoin, whereas with paper money, there's actually the polar opposite. There's actually more and more coming into circulation. So as an example, Joe Biden has now it was passed to deliver $1.9 billion in stimulus checks to the American people. That's $1.9 billion that didn't exist a few days ago, now exists. And he gave it to everyone for free. So when everyone decides to spend it, that is actually how inflation is caused. And just yesterday, he announced that he's going to now push towards getting another stimulus of $3 trillion. So we've gone from 1.9 trillion now to 3 trillion, and I guess the next one might be 6 trillion. Who knows where it's going to end? But as you can see, the numbers get higher and higher and higher. More and more being printed. Just last year in 2020, 60% of all dollars that have ever been printed by the central bank since 1971, 60% of that was printed just last year. That means 48 years worth of printing money in the American economy, 48 years of that only accounted for just 40% of the Bitcoin, so of the dollars that was ever printed. Whereas 60% of that now in circulation was printed just last year. And I wouldn't be surprised if Joe Biden prints off even more than what Trump did last year. So as you can see, it's spiraling out of control, where they're printing infinitum almost. So is it really irresponsible to take action to preserve your wealth and to leave what seems to be a collapsing system to go to another system that has a proven track record of over 10 years to have been functioning non-stop in all that time? I would say that's very irresponsible. However, I would say that if a person decides to purchase Bitcoin, or some may say invest, or convert their capital to Bitcoin, and has no idea what Bitcoin even is, other than the fact that, oh, someone said it's going to go up, then I would say that's irresponsible. But that's not to do with Bitcoin. That's to do with anything, really. If someone said to me, I want to invest in some company, yeah, I said, what's the company name? Oh, I forgot the name, but it's supposed to be good. I would say, if you can't remember the name of the company, you have no idea why it's good, then why are you asking about investment? That itself, that action is irresponsible action. But as for Bitcoin itself, is it irresponsible to invest in Bitcoin or even tell others about Bitcoin? I would say the polar opposite. Bitcoin is a currency that most resembles gold and silver in the sense that it can only be earned through hard work and labor, whereas fiat currency is just a note to say that someone owes that it's just a note of an interest-bearing loan that was issued by the government. It was issued before work was even done. It doesn't resemble what real money has been from the beginning of time, and there's actually a 100% mortality rate, as they say, for fiat currencies. Every time there's been a fiat currency in history, it has always gone to zero, and there's no evidence to suggest that this currency will be any different. We hope you find this video beneficial and useful, and may Allah give you plenty Bitcoin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.